And we're recording.
Hello.
Hi. So where are you now?
I'm in Beirut now. I was in
Oh,
Paris.
oh,
Now I'm in
so
Beirut.
so international, even in a pandemic. Aren't we fancy?
Yes,
So
both
today's
fun.
learning with Lynette. What do you want to know?
So I have a few questions. People have been watching and asking. So the first question comes from a behavioral therapist who is kind of training in the ABA side of things. So ABA is applied behavior analysis, and is a bit different than what we do. Maybe you want to touch on that very briefly. And she was wondering if we are to be friends, how are we supposed to teach life skills without being a teacher?
Okay.
So that's the first question.
And it's a great question because it comes up all the time. So just for people who don't already know about ABA, it's essentially a method that's been very much implemented in all of the schools and any of the very organized play structure or learning environments, because it's very data driven. So it's very possible to get sort of grants and funding, and you prove the success of whether or not they made the B sound because you're tracking everything. So there's a lot of repetition in it, and there's a lot of good in it. The repetition being the main thing. The problem, as I see it with ABA, is, well, there's many issues for me with ABA, but one of the biggest problems is that it, rather than helping the child to, in a sophisticated manner, grow a greater set of skills, it sets the child up to feel as if the things that they like to do are unnatural and just belong to them. And that becomes the reward system. And this is hard to follow, so I'm going to give a quick example so that I can get to your question. And maybe we'll touch on ABA periodically throughout these lessons,
Mm-hmm.
because actually I have quite a bit to say about it. But I'm going to just mention this one thing. So there's a type of tangible reward given to a child when they make an attempt to behave in a way that is compliant and agreeable to whatever it is that the teacher wants. And sometimes that's a food, like a raisin or a marshmallow. Sometimes that's you get to play with the thing you like to play with. So think of it this way: you're asking the child to stop behaving in the way that they want to behave. Keep their hands more still, sit more straight, keep their eyes forward, and do that for a set amount of time, and then they get a break to go and be who they are. I want to start with this example because what I see that as teaching is, you're different. You're not like us. You don't like the things we like. So I need you to act like us. And when you do, I'll let you go be you. It's a big problem because now you're furthering the distance between you and the child. You're not closing the distance, you're
Mm.
furthering. And as this goes on, and of course it gets multi-layered, once the child is bigger and has had all these years of feeling like they are different and have to comply and have to behave, and then they hit puberty, it can be quite unattractive to see how they react to, finally, I'm big enough and strong enough to fight back. And by then it's a big mess. So at the very least, whenever using ABA, I try to feather the edges of that. I never personally totally use ABA, but I use aspects because there are some really great things about it, especially the constant repetition. So that gives you a sense of what ABA would be. And you've heard, if you've watched any of these, you've heard me talk about how I would approach play and connecting with the child and trying to work first on relationship. And it's kind of opposite. They're working first on compliance. I'm working first on relationship. But I see relationship and social skills as one of the major issues in autism. And so that's where I want to go first. So how would I do that if I'm a friend? How do I get a child to want to wipe their bottom after they go to the
It's
bathroom,
exactly what I was thinking.
right? Well, let's break that down. If I'm a little kid and I'm 2 years old, and no, I'll be 4. I'm a 4-year-old kid and I have a 2-year-old brother, and I want him to wipe his bum because I've been hearing my parents talk about it, I'm probably going to play house with him. And we're going to wipe the bums of all the babies, or we're going to show each other how we wipe each other's bums, and we're going to not be shy about it. We're going to be comfortable and hilarious. We're going to laugh. We're going to play. And you know what he's going to do? He's going to learn to wipe his bum. Now, if I'm doing it as a mom or a teacher, he also might learn to wipe his bum because he wants to, or some people say butt. He wants to, get my approval, have me think he's doing a great job, be a big boy. Yes. But now let's add a sensory challenge. Let's say that this particular person has a discomfort with the feeling of the toilet paper or water, if you're using a bidet, against their anus. And that's uncomfortable. It feels prickly and tingly. And let's add another element, another problem. They have a little problem with their hands. Their fine motor skills aren't so great. So it's hard to, really apply the pressure where they need to. And when they do, it feels yucky. Okay, now we have a real problem. It's not just the 4-year-old and the 2-year-old playing. It's the child with an aversion for very real reasons, trying to learn a life skill and trying to please the parents, but knowing that the parents or the teacher are asking them to do something that's not good. Because remember, for them, it's not good. For them, I'm being asked to hurt myself or feel uncomfortable. It's not good. So you're asking me to do something wrong. Now we have a clash. So what do? Well, first of all, you have to recognize all that. Step one, in that part, you're the mom. You're the person saying, hey, I know this could be uncomfortable for you. For a lot of children with sensory issues, even just having a toothbrush in the front of their gums or on their front teeth is very uncomfortable. So we have to think in these terms. So you use explanations and you say, hey, I get that this might be uncomfortable. And then you add science, but there's a lot of germs. And that's why we're wearing masks right now, because there's so many germs. Germs matter. They change your life. You bring it into real life. And then the best way to lower a sensory discomfort is to lower the stress. So the lower the stress, the less the sensory discomfort. So now it's got to be fun. It's got to be light, but you're still requesting it and you're still consistent. And maybe you get out the dolls and you wipe their bottoms, and maybe you have them come in and see you wipe your bottom. You're a family. It's okay. Life skills are taught through play. Always. They always have been. That's not new. Every family has watched their child play house and learn a skill. What's new is as soon as someone has a diagnosis, we think that the lighthearted, fun way is not useful. It's not hard enough work. They'll never get anywhere. But the truth is you get farther. You learn quicker and you get farther. You have a higher IQ when you're having fun.
So does that mean that it's possible that the first couple of times the bum is not wiped?
Well, I think you can always be a parent and wipe too. You have to be a part of it. So you you use wipes. You say, which feels better for you? Do you want me to wipe your bum with toilet tissue? You want me to wipe your bum with the wet wipes? Do you want me to use the bidet if you have that option? Spray water. Would you like to clean yourself in the shower?
So there's no option of not wiping, and
No.
you can do that in a playful way.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So being playful doesn't mean we give up.
Right. And it doesn't mean that we we tell them, oh, it's not good, it's not healthy, or, you'll have germs, and then let them run around with germs. Now, let's say you establish a problem and they are avoiding wiping and they're hiding. This is really common. Kids hold their poo. They'll run and poo and run away so that nobody knows they did it, so they don't have to wipe. All kinds of things happen when this has been handled wrong. It takes a long time to undo it. And then even if it was handled right, it can happen because of these other issues with the sensory system and stuff. So once that's happening, you may have a time where you say, okay, well, if you're not wiping, but now you don't smell as nice. You have to point out all those things.
Okay. So it's fine to say, like I was wondering if I could say something like, if you don't wipe, you're not going to smell good, and I want to hang out with you. But if you
all
don't
of that.
smell, yeah, that's fine. Okay.
All of that. But here's where the mistake happens. When you say, oh, you stink. Oh, you stink. You're not wiping. Oh, you stink. But you don't say, oh, you smell so great today. You're so clean today. I love snuggling you. So the weirdest things, right?
So we forget.
Everybody's so busy. Yes. Everyone's so busy trying to fix things. They forget to solidify the good stuff. It's the real thing that makes the child do it isn't the you stink. And in fact, you want to be really careful with that. It's the, oh, wow, you smell so good. And here's a cute thing that you might want to think about. Let's say the same child has a sensory issue with everybody grabbing them and hugging them and kissing them and stuff. And they find out that if they don't wipe and they don't smell good, people leave them alone. Right? So you always have to keep your eye on the goal and watch. Am I actually being counterproductive here? Am I actually creating a situation where they're using it as a weapon against this sort of onslaught of relatives trying to give me too much affection? So yeah, it's actually quite complex, but play and lightness and honesty and reward and explanations works.
Okay, cool. Nice. I'm going to move on to the second question. I was talking to my mom, and she was telling me, and it's true, that what she loved about working with you was that it was kind of a lifelong approach, and it wasn't, stuck in a box, and she could kind of apply it throughout life. And so then that made me think, okay, so what does play look like for adults? So children grow up, and so what's your definition of that?
Actually, I think we kind of just touched on that because we were talking about a life skill and we went right to something as basic as wiping or washing. That wasn't really a game, was it? I wasn't talking about, and now we get the blocks and we line the blocks up and you get to knock the blocks down every time you wipe your butt. Well, I didn't structure it like some kind of this and that type of game. I wove in the reward, the joy, the reason, took out the judgment, still put in the explanation of it doesn't smell good. Oh, please don't sit on the furniture. Go clean yourself, whatever it is. So that's life. There's nothing different about that than what I might do with anybody, any adults of any functioning level that has a problem learning something. So that's what play looks like for adults. It looks like acceptance, reward, explanation. Like, what do you love to do? You're doing it right now. You're asking me questions and I'm giving you answers, and you're hungry for knowledge. That's not different for other people. It's just relative to what they're capable of. So as you get older, you want all of that. And you want friends. Your brother, I remember one time he used to love to come over to the hotel to get his neurofeedback done, right? And I said and then afterwards, he'd just want to lay quietly on the bed and not talk or do anything. And I'm like, okay. So I said, why do you want to come here all the time? And he goes, to be together, to be friends. He didn't have this big idea in his head that we had to play cards.
Yeah.
Right? He just loved the feeling that there we were, just being. So often as the people get older, that's what they want more than anything, is just to be with someone who slows down enough to answer the questions they have, to take the space that they need, to wait for their answers, for be curious and interested in what they're curious and interested in.
Mm.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's true. I like that clear answer. You actually ended that greatly, because so now I'm working with a mom who I previously worked with
And by the way, in the background, it sounds like somebody's having a great time. So whoever they are, I want to tell them congratulations on being playful. And we can't ignore it, because people are going to be saying, what's going on?
My son and husband definitely know. Honestly, I have to give credit to my husband for all of the beautiful play that he does every day.
Fantastic.
We talk to each other and screams. Okay.
Okay, what were you going to ask?
Yeah, so a mom I used to work with doing neurofeedback. Now we're both in two different countries, so we want to tackle it behaviorally. And I guess the first main concern is now she's surrounded by her extended family, which in Arab culture is very, very common. You go to your auntie's house, you see your cousins, your uncle, your so her son has muscular, do you say it? Muscular dystrophy.
Muscular dystrophy.
Muscular dystrophy, and he has some repetitive talk. He drools a lot, speaks in a loud voice. Those are her main concerns, but he's the most adorable and very smart boy. And I think she's really just struggling with how is her family behaving with him, and I don't know if she realizes that what role she's supposed to play in that. So maybe you can say a few words about family dynamics and what's the best way
And
to
overbroad questions that don't have answers.
Is that not good?
No, it's fantastic, because that's the kind of question I get all the time. Someone will write me a question. Hi, my son's violent. What do I do? Could you describe something? How old is your son? What's going on? Okay. Well, let's just hit on just the whole concept of family, and when is it detrimental, when isn't it? Really and truly, I think that the hardest thing for parents who have a special child is all the opinions of everyone else. And it's not just family, it's neighbors and the guy at the store and the teachers and so many people with opinions about how things have to be done. And those people generally got their opinion from their life, which isn't even remotely similar. And so it becomes really problematic, and the parents often start to sort of hide and create a shell or over discipline. I had this problem myself. When I would take the kids out, for those of you who don't know, I raised 8 children, 6 were adopted, multiply handicapped. So when I would take them out, I often would feel like, let's make sure that they're all like in a nice line and they're behaving well. And of course, that was an impossible dream. But I wanted the neighbors to like them. I wanted other people to like them. I was driven for, please, love these kids that I love so much. And let me make you behave so that nobody else is mean to you and makes you behave. And that need to protect created a great deal of difficulty and many stories that I had to undo. So this happens in all the families. This sort of, I want my mother to think I'm doing a good job with my child. I want my auntie to back off. I want all of this stuff happens. And it's especially difficult when you love everyone, right? So it's your family and you love them all, but everyone has opinions and they all want to make a difference. What I can say is that when people don't see you as having a problem, they don't try to fix it. So the more that you get a handle on it yourself and lead the way, the more that they will follow. Usually, and of course there's exceptions, and every family has their person that doesn't listen and stuff, but usually people just, they are trying to help, they want to help, they love you, they see that it's a challenge, and so they're bringing their ideas into play. And it's better if you lead the way, because if you don't, then it's going to be a big mess. So lead the way in the sense of saying, oh, he does that with his voice. His voice is always loud. So we're doing a new game, and I hope everyone will join in. Let's use our inside voice. Let's use our outside voice. And lead it like it's fun. And if they're misbehaving and angry, lead it like, I got this. Everybody back off. I got this. It's a relief for family members to think you know what you're doing, and that you want their help, and you love them, but that you can show them what works for your child. So your job really in a large family situation is to get very clear all the time. Every day you get clear all over again, because you'll be confused every day. And you get clear about what it is that you want from them for your child.
What if it's more interaction and communication, because there's too much ignoring or just not doing anything?
Okay. Most of the time, if you interact, they interact. So usually when that's happening, it's because we're bossing the kids around too much, right? So if I'm saying, I've even seen it with my great grandkids. If I'm saying, being efficient with my son Dar, and I say, Dar, go sit over there. The next thing I know, I hear the little kids going, Dar, go sit over there. And I'm like, oops, I don't want that relationship. That's not what I wanted to build, right? And then I have to back that off, and I'm skilled. So this is a real issue that you really want to watch for. If you want more interaction, you have to be interacting. That's where they get their ideas. Nobody knows how to do it, right? I don't know how to play with your strange person, but if I see you playing with them, I'm going to do what you do.
Yeah, you're reminding me of my mom.
Yeah.
So would children also, so let's say they're cousins, would children also see how a mother interacts with a child? And I mean, yeah, you just answered that.
I did just answer that, yes.
Yeah, I mean, so even cousins are, even if they're 5 or 10 years old, but would you have like a conversation with them as a mother?
You do, but you want to be an opportunist. You don't want to make this all very weighty and say, okay, this person's special needs and I want you to behave this way. You want to see the problem and then step forward and help them without judgment. They just don't know, right? Sometimes the peers, the kids, the cousins, the nieces, nephews, whatever, sometimes they get away with more pushing and actually teach more skills than we do. So I allow a little bit of room there for some of that to happen, but not allowing it to turn into bullying, you got to keep an eye out. When someone doesn't know what to do with you, but they want to have a game of basketball, they might stick you underneath the basketball net and tell you to, catch the ball and throw it out. And now all of a sudden you're part of the group. And I might not have thought for them to do that, but the peers did. So it's good to back off, but it's also important that you step forward. It's a real dance. It's a real dance.
Okay, awesome. I think we're good for today. Okay. Almost 25 minutes.
Okay.
Awesome.
And let me just close on that last. I don't think that was a strong ending, and I'd love to leave you with a strong ending. So when you're first starting with a group like that, you have your child and your cousins come over and they don't really know yet. There's nothing wrong with taking control. Like I said, take the lead. There's nothing wrong with saying, okay, we're going to all do art, or we're going to all play hide and seek, and you help the one that's challenged at the game. And then orchestrate, just like a preschool teacher might, or just create the circumstance. Because in doing that, you break the ice and you see who's following suit well, who's not, who tends to go, oh God, do we have to play with that person again? And who goes, oh, I love playing with that person. And you'll be able to sort of massage the edges because you took the time to lead the way.
Nice.
Okay.
Very nice. Thank you.
Right. You're welcome.
See you soon.
All right.